It's a beautiful day. Lucky that we live Hawaii. 24/7, 365. Swimming in the ocean anytime. Take a leap, health with healthy. We eat well. A, be active. P, live mono every day.
Take a little bike ride.
Aloha kākou and welcome. My name is Lauren Eleni Gill, and I'm with the Communications Office at the Department of Health. I'll be your host today for this episode of Foundations for Healthy Generations, a program for and about public health in Hawaii. Each month, we invite you and your family to join us as we discuss public health issues, concerns, and programs. In this episode, we'll be talking about Project Kealahou, a program for Hawaii's girls aged 11 to 18 who have faced difficult times. Our guest is Tia Roberts, Project Director. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your background and how you became involved with Project Kealahou.
So I had the opportunity to become involved in the program about 3 years ago, but my experience has been in the field of juvenile justice. I worked on a coalition for juvenile justice several years ago and got interested in the topic. Have also been, and I got a degree in criminal justice administration. I've also been involved in the Department of Education as a teacher for a Hawaiian charter school on the Windward side. I also was a counselor there, so it raised a lot of interest in mental health.
Yeah.
So the blend of the two, mental health and juvenile justice, kind of perfectly matched with this position in this program. So it's been a really great experience and has really kind of been a good match with the experience and the education that I've had.
Yeah, well, Project Kealahou is very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick look at a video that describes Project Kealahou's vision.
My name is Tia Roberts, Director for Project Kealahou. Project Kealahou's vision is for Hawaii's girls who have experienced significant trauma to navigate new pathways to balanced, responsible, and connected lives, and to pass down this way of life from generation to generation. You can find us on www.projectkealahou.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter.
So Tia, what's unique about Project Kealahou? Is there anything else like it in Hawaii?
So although there's lots of programs for boys in Hawaii, there wasn't a lot of programs specifically for the needs of girls and that were specifically catered to runaway girls. And the uniqueness of this program, it was a grant written by women for women in Hawaii to address how do we provide gender-specific and effective, appropriate services for adolescent girls. We saw a large amount of girls in the juvenile justice, the child welfare system, in this school-based behavioral health system even, that were kind of having a lot of internalized behaviors and weren't necessarily having effective treatment in services that are traditionally out there that have been tested on boys. So they wanted to develop a program that spoke to the needs of the girls in Hawaii. And so there was a lot of programs, I think, that are effective, but this one is looking at specifically working with why the girls are running and addressing a lot of the reasons why girls were running and
Running away from home.
running away from home, running away from programs and placements, running away from foster placements.
I see.
And what we found is a lot of the reasons why girls were running away was because of a history of trauma. So they wanted a program that addressed the specific needs of girls as it pertains to interpersonal trauma.
So what are the specific goals of Project Kealahou, and what values do you integrate into the program?
So specifically our goals look at not only providing services that resonate with girls here, but also providing the system of care, which is the entire child serving system that works, all of the organizations and the departments that can work together and collaborate on adolescent services, kind of creating opportunities to provide training for trauma-informed care. Trauma-informed care is a philosophy that works around the idea of acknowledging the trauma, creating environments and services that don't re-trigger the girls or the youth, period. Looking at ways to support the staff that are working with survivors so that they don't re-trigger the girls, that they're not experiencing too much vicarious trauma, that there's not a lot of countertransference. So it's working from a perspective of a trauma-informed philosophy. Other goals and values include acknowledging and including family voice, collaborating with other systems that aren't necessarily used to collaborating and talking to each other, so trying to develop ways to have a continuum of care that is appropriate for the girl and their family.
So we've been using the word trauma a lot. What exactly is trauma, and why is there such a need for gender-specific care? So when we're talking about trauma in this specific context, we're talking mostly about interpersonal trauma. Interpersonal trauma being physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, as well as neglect for the girls, witnessing a lot of violence. So in Hawaii, we have a lot of occurrences that adolescents are experiencing, and it's on top of the whole experience of the historical trauma here in the island. So it's something that we also try and address when we do trainings for organizations and families, is the intergenerational trauma that's been passed down and the historical trauma that's been passed down has an effect today. Acknowledging it, understanding it, and working within the structure of the trauma-informed perspective. What are the differences between boys and girls, and why is it so important for girls to have this? So
for girls show different types of behaviors than boys do. A lot of the trauma survivors, male trauma survivors, have externalizing behaviors. So they get aggressive, they're fighting more, they're being more obstinate. Whereas the girls they internalize more behaviors. So the symptoms we see are very different. They're more introverted. They can be very very withdrawn. They can start to self-harm. They can experience a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety that we see in our girls. So the signs, the symptoms, the behaviors that we're looking for as professionals are very different. And so the services are often geared towards and flagged to behaviors that are very externalized. So oftentimes girls kind of go unnoticed and under the radar. And so the program is designed to help not only provide services for this population, but also to train and inform and educate the system on different types of symptoms and behaviors that we're looking for that may be related to a trauma history.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because sometimes you may not even know that a girl is having a difficult time. Their grades might not even drop.
Right.
So,
and sometimes their grades may even get better. So sometimes they may be, wanting to not deal with the experience of the trauma. So they just kind of delve into and focus and become kind of all encompassing in one thing. They throw themselves into school. So sometimes the red flags that we may normally look for is truancy, which is a lot of times that's what happens. They start to withdraw from class. They start to withdraw from their social circles. But they also may kind of just dive right into school and become a little overachieving in that area.
All right, so health equity is one of the foundations in the Department of Health's strategic plan, and I think one of the most relevant objectives is to reduce stigma. Can you speak about that?
Sure. So a lot of what we're trying to do with this program in the department is to do a lot of psychoeducation. So educating the system, not only the girls and their families, but the system in that trauma is pervasive. It's pervasive in our lives, it's pervasive in our communities, and it's something that we should be able to talk about, we should be able to address without a lot of shame. That's oftentimes connected to the trauma. So really having a good understanding of what it means, having a good understanding of what happens in our brain, so and our developmental ability to deal with the trauma. So oftentimes just understanding what it does to us and how it affects the way that we think, how it affects the way we behave, how that affects the way we react to things, can help reduce the stigma, rather. So it's a lot of education on many levels on what it does to us and how it doesn't mean that that's the end of your life, and it's something that we can heal from day after day after day. And it doesn't have to be always a difficult, stressful, and a lot of anxiety associated with it. There's different techniques that we can help teach ourselves to cope with the trauma.
Yeah. So tell me more about the Kealahou Team. I understand you have family and youth on the staff and cultural specialists. Who's involved? Right.
So the grant that we've received is a federal grant, and it's from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So it's a system of care grant, which we refer to as a system of care grant. It's a nationally federally funded organization grant, and it's basically to help provide and help to integrate different systems that work within the adolescent and child serving system. And so the different populations that we serve, the diverse populations that we serve, helps to speak to each of those populations. So some of the values that are in system of care grants are youth guided, family driven, culturally and linguistically resonant. So we have different staff positions that really try and keep that in the forefront of our heads, is to understand how culture plays a piece of these girls' lives. What does culture even mean? It's different to every person, so it could mean something different than it means to you than it means to me. And how do I relate to you with the cultural lens that you're coming through, without too much of my own biases and worldview coming into play? So as a therapist or as a service provider, not putting too much of my biases on how I'm working with you, and just kind of trying to understand and know what perspective you're coming from and what culture you're coming from, and what would be effective in specifically working with you as a youth.
So do you have any statistics on the populations of girls that you serve?
So we do have about over 60% of our girls are Native Hawaiian. So we've Project Kealahou, it was written to kind of address the girls of Native Hawaiian descent, and Kealahou means a new pathway. So a lot of the ways in which we kind of designed the program was through a cultural foundation to help reconnect them with the place where they're from. So honoring and acknowledging that this is the host culture, and understanding that this is the land in which they come from, and that helping them reconnect with the place, if they're Native Hawaiian or not. It's still the idea of having them connect with this place that they live in.
I love that Keala is pathway, and Ho is to start anew or start again. So I think that's perfect. So what sorts of services does Project Kealahou provide? I understand there's 3 levels.
Right, so we do like kind of the micro, meso, macro service delivery. So in the micro delivery, we provide direct services that are case management. I have 7 therapists, we call them intensive support workers on staff, and they provide one-on-one support. They provide case management. They work within the system to help provide referrals. They also work with the families in developing the pathway plan with the girls. So they're really kind of our direct line to the girls that provide the engagement, help with the involvement in the program. They get a lot of assistance, and what we found have worked very well is the involvement of the peer specialists on staff that we have that help with the engagement, help with the retention of our girls. So the direct care not only is the one-on-one work, but it's also kind of a group work. We have a program called Girls Circle that we work with and provide in different areas of the system of care. We've trained several therapists across the state to run Girls Circles. We also do trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy, which is the more cognitive approach to the one-on-one sitting in a room doing the therapy, going through. It's a 12-week program to work with a trained therapist to deliver the trauma-focused CBT. And the girls are also involved and have an opportunity to be involved in the youth activities. We also do, as kind of the meso level, is the training piece. So we're doing a lot of statewide training, a lot of Oahu training on trauma-informed care, on gender-specific services, on what is vicarious trauma, what's just trauma 101, and looking at how to help organizations develop their programming to be more trauma-informed. And then on the macro level, we're starting to really delve in these last couple of years of the program is to the macro level policy development, legislative action, as well as organizational assessment. So working with organizations to write policies that are gender specific, to develop their programs to be more culturally and linguistically resonant, as well as more trauma specific. So to help them work with this population more effectively.
It's a big job.
Yeah, it's a big
direct
job.
services, training, and then the macro level,
Right.
advocating the right sorts of policies. So we saw some photos earlier of horseback riding, and I understand that's one of the activities. What other sorts of activities do you provide for the girls?
So other activities that we've done have involved working in the community. It's been activities that different stages of activities. So the first activities were really involved in just engaging the girls. So fun activities that like horseback riding, like hiking, like doing beach days to kind of get them out of their house.
Yeah.
A lot of the girls have had pretty high anxiety, so just getting them to engage in an activity that is in their community with other girls in the program has been pretty successful. The next part of our activities are going to be involved more in the service sector, so I'm doing more community efforts, more involving them in organizations that already exist, getting them in activities that nonprofits are running, so that we're taking them there and getting them comfortable and getting them interested in activities that are already happening in their community that they wouldn't know about, but being that liaison to get them comfortable to go. I'm doing community service projects, getting them volunteering in areas that they may be of interest. Some of our girls are interested in animals, so we're trying to reach out to different animal organizations and really encouraging them in their job training and skills in their areas of interest so that they can increase their kind of skill set. So, looking towards the future and have them, as they're getting older and getting out of the program and out of the system, giving them a skill set and really understanding where their interests are and helping them make that connection to possible job opportunities.
So how does a girl get referred to Project Kealahou?
They can get referred by anyone. Actually, they can refer themselves.
Oh, okay.
So we get referrals from the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Division. We get referrals from the Child Welfare Services. We get a lot of referrals from the juvenile justice system, from the Department of Education, teachers and counselors. We've gotten referrals from families themselves and girls themselves, and then different nonprofits. As there's more exposure of the program, we get more referrals from from nonprofit communities. We've gotten referrals from the shelters.
I see.
So anyone can refer, and there's information on our website about how to refer.
So how has it been working so far? What are the evaluation results?
So we have about 6 studies going on right now. The federal funders in these system of care grants require certain types of evaluation studies to be happening during the lifetime of the grant. So we're measuring several different practice elements. Every interaction we have with the girls, our staff fills out some information, a form, exactly what type of element they've been working on with the girl, how it's been, how much dosage, how often, what was the response, and we do several interviews with not only the youth in the program, if they're in the evaluation, but also the caregiver. So we do baseline, we do 6-month, 12-month, 18-month, and then 24-month follow-up interviews. So we have we will have a great amount of data, which is the exciting part, to show what works for our girls here, what interventions work, what types of elements, how much, what's the dosage, how often, and what we found in some of the 12-month follow-up interviews have been reduced measures and reduction of anxiety, reduction of depression, and this is all self-report from the girls and their caregivers, what the caregivers see and what the girls experience themselves. So it's a pretty exciting it's pretty exciting outcomes that we've had recently, and the retention rate has been actually really great. Nationally, we've had one of the highest retention rates in the evaluation study. So that's really it's really great. And a lot of the credit goes to all the credit goes to the staff. So and their engagement with the girls. So they're doing a great job.
That's great. So can you give me examples of what have been the most successful strategies to get these great results?
So from the work that we can see, we do a lot of assertive community outreach. And that means that we go to the girls where they are, meet them where they are, literally and figuratively. So meet them where they are, developmentally, how amenable to an intervention they are, where they are even physically. So we'll go to wherever they feel safe. A lot of the grant focuses on trauma-informed care values of safety and youth voice. And so the idea of making sure that they feel safe, they feel like they have developed a good rapport, they have a good relationship. It's they have the right to say no. They are able to say whether they want to meet here or there at this time or at this time. And so a lot of the assertive community outreach, I think, has been extremely effective in not only retaining the girls but engaging them at the very beginning. The peer mentors and the peer specialists that we have on staff really also help in that.
Huge asset.
A huge asset. A lot of engagement. Have somebody your age who's experienced things in their own lives. They're a couple of years older, so our youth specialists are 19, 20, 21, 22 and up. We have 3 on staff right now and they're awesome. Their involvement and what they bring to the table is invaluable.
So what can the community do to get involved with Project Kealahou?
Well, we have a governing council that's an open meeting. It happens every other month, and it's an opportunity to kind of a lot of the service providers, the system folks come, but it's also for families and youth themselves to come. Any family can come, anybody from the community can come, learn about what we're doing in the project, but also help provide direction for the project, help drive it so it's more organic, coming from the needs of the community. So if some of the things that we're hearing from the community and from the families we feel aren't being addressed, or they feel aren't being addressed, we try to adjust the delivery of the program. So it's trying to be very inclusive and very responsive to the needs of the community.
I think it's such a wonderful resource. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Well, we have a website. We're on Facebook and Twitter. We even have an Instagram account. And in the last couple of months, we've had the opportunity to have a little bit more exposure in the media. Have some articles that have been written recently. It's a lot of interest and some really amazing support from the community. We've been having trainings taped, so Olalo's running some of the trainings.
Great.
But I really, final thoughts is of just the great opportunity that we've had as staff on the grant and the community in general, from the vision that was initially had by the writers and developers of the grant, to really provide services that really help these girls heal and help the community as a whole heal, their families heal. So it's a great opportunity that we've had, and it's great to be a part of it.
Well, we're very grateful for all the great work that you and your staff do, and
thank
you so much for coming today to speak with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Foundations of Healthy Generations. Until next time, be well, and ahui ho!
It's a beautiful day. Lucky that we live Hawaii.
24/7, 365.
Swimming in the ocean anytime.